Welcome to the video, everyone. I appreciate you stopping by. Today we are going to be doing a little quick look at the quick start for Star Wars Unlimited Spark of Rebellion. We're going to be going over this guidebook here, and then we are going to be taking just a little bit of a sneak peek into everything that we got here and give a quick little overview of how the game works and how we're going to be running through everything here. So what we're going to first start by doing is giving a little bit of a rundown of the game playmat area. So as you can see, we have our ground units over here. So those will be obviously where our ground units stay at. We have our leader spot and our base spot. We have our space units for all of our space vehicles there. We have our initiative counter, so that way we don't lose track of who is going to have the initiative or taking the first part of the turn. We have our resources here, which is where we'll be tapping everything to be able to activate people and summon people and use their skills. We have our deck here, and yes, I know it is Charizard there, but originally I planned on doing Pokemon cards with my son, and then Disney cards came out, which was Disney Lorcana, and we started doing that. And then once I delved down a little bit into Disney Lorcana, I found out about Star Wars Unlimited, and I figured, you know what, this is the perfect game to start jumping into, and here we are. So next is our discard pile here, so obviously where you discard everything there. It's got a little bit of a setup guide here, quick reference guide here, a round structure guide here, which is how the action phase, the regroup phase is. We have some reference keywords down here. We've got our tokens, either our experience tokens here or our shield tokens as well. So we've got a few of those down there. We've got our damage counters here. And I'm not exactly sure what this X chip is for here. So if you do know, please let me know down in the comments what that is for. I couldn't find anything in the rule guide for it. So I guess that's where that bad boy goes. So let's go ahead and start peeking into this guidebook here. So Star Wars Unlimited, a quick little overview. Let me see if I can get that to zoom in for us here. Get a little bit of a better view for us. All right, overview. Star Wars Unlimited is a trading card game in which each player takes on the role of a leader, an iconic Star Wars character who rallies their forces into battle to defeat their opponent's base. These forces are represented by a 50-card deck containing units, events, and upgrades. The game is played over a series of rounds. During the action phase of each round, you'll play cards from your hand and use these cards to attack your opponent's base and units. Then in the regroup phase, you'll draw cards, build up your resources, and ready your units for the next round of battle. Early in the game, your leader will affect the battle passively, but eventually they'll join the fray as a powerful unit, winning the game. Each base starts the game with 30 HP hit points. If you deal enough damage to enemy base to reduce it to 0 HP, you win the game. Simple enough. Setup. Using the two-player starter, which we do have, and that is how we got this nice little game mat here. And I also thought it wouldn't have the opposite side. I thought it would be the exact same print, but in fact it does have, on the Luke side, it has the ground units over here and the space units, so it's flipped here. So you do have the same ground units fighting each other and the same space units, followed by the leader card and the base card there. So it is pretty nice that they had that there. So okay, starter contains 2 decks. So let's see if we can zoom back in here. Starter contains 2 decks, Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader. Each player chooses one of the decks to play. Separate the double-sided leader, base, and token cards from the other 50 cards with the Star Wars Unlimited card back. Take the 2 playmats and set them up facing each other. They contain helpful rules, reminders, and indicate how to lay out your cards. Follow the steps to set up your game. Put your base into play facing your opponents. Put your leader into play below your base, horizontal, non-unit, side face up. Randomly determine which player starts the game with the initiative and give the initiative counter to that player. That would be this guy right here. Shuffle your deck. Draw 6 cards from your deck to form your hand. Now see, that is a weird one. Every card game I've played was 7. I just assumed it was going to be 7, but I did read and it says 6. Obviously it says 6 right there. So that's what we're going to be doing. You may take a mulligan by shuffling your entire hand into your deck, then drawing a new hand of 6 cards. You must keep the new hand. A little strategy tip, we recommend taking a mulligan if your hand contains no units that cost 1 or 2 to play on the first round. That way you can't start losing damage, you don't start falling behind your opponent and all that good jazz. Choose 2 cards from your hand and put them face down near your base. They are now resources. You will use resources to pay for the cards playing during the game. When both players are ready, start the game with the first action phase. So that's kind of what it looks like there with your resources, your base, your leader, initiative counter, your deck, damage counter. Oh, it's an epic action counter. Well, that's simple enough there. I don't know how I missed that. But yes, so let's just, for the sake of argument, just put our resources down here so that way we have that. I did grab a few cards here that we could use. So I've got the upgrade card. If you look up here, it's an upgrade version. Attached to a non-vehicle unit. When played, if attached to the unit is Darth Vader, you may deal 4 damage to a ground unit, which would be dope. And it does +3 damage, and then it has +1 shield. So if you look here, when you flip over to Vader and add him down as a unit once you have activated his epic action, if you control 7 or more resources, deploy this leader. Make him there. On attack, you may deal 2 damage to a unit, but if you have this as well, you're already going to be doing 4 damage to a ground unit, so that's 6 damage to that unit. Or you could do a vehicle unit if you really wanted with the 2 damage. Then he's gonna be at 8 attack and 9 defense there. So that would be pretty crazy to have there. Then we also have an event card here. It's open fire, deal 4 damage to a unit. Simple enough. You tap your 3 resources, make sure that you have enough there, and you go ahead and play them and do that damage there. We have the TIE Advanced, which would be one of our space units. So that bad boy would go right up over there. And it is, when played, give 2 experience tokens to another friendly Imperial unit. So obviously we have our experience tokens. That gives you +1/+1, which is really nice. And then we have our Snowtrooper Lieutenant. When played, you may attack with a unit. If it's an Imperial unit, you may attack with a unit. If it's an Imperial unit, it gets +2/+0 for this attack. You can only attack with a ready friendly unit. So as long as that unit has not been tilted on its side there, making so it has been used already, or when you play it, it starts set that way. If it is not like that, you can make that attack there. So again, that's pretty nice. Just a quick little overview of that piece there. Now let's jump back here into our book. So the gameplay, we have the action phase. Most of the gameplay happens during the action phase. During this phase, players go back and forth taking 1 action at a time. The player with the initiative counter takes the first action, then their opponent takes an action, and so on until both players have passed, which I really enjoy. It sounds like it's going to be a fun thing to play with. I haven't played the game yet, but with all the other trading card games that I've played, usually someone has a turn where they do all this, that, and the other, and then it's the next person's turn, and this, that, and the other. But in this one, looks like you're going to be playing a card, attacking with a unit, using an action ability, taking the initiative, and then passing, which would be at the end of the turn. So it's kind of like multiple turns mixed in together as one. You're playing a back and forth kind of tit-for-tat battle there. So playing a card, cards have a cost in the upper left-hand corner. So if you look here, we have that cost right there. To play a card, reveal it from your hand and pay its cost by exhausting that many resources. So again, exhausting is you just tilt them to the side for the rest of the turn. Can't use it until the regroup phase in the next play. For example, to play a card that costs 2, you must exhaust 2 of your resources. There are 3 types of cards that you can play: the units, events, and upgrades. We covered both or all 3 of those previously here. Each card type has different rules when played, as described in the following pages. Ready and exhausted. Units and resources enter play exhausted, which is turned sideways, then become ready, turned upright, at the end of the regroup phase each round. Many cards exhaust in order to be used. Resources exhaust to pay the cards you play from your hand. Units exhaust to attack or use certain abilities indicated by the little arrow icon. An exhausted card can exhaust until it's ready. Some leaders, including both Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader, exhaust to use their action ability. When you deploy your leader as a unit, ready it, even if it was exhausted before. This means it can attack the same round it's deployed. We'll look at the page 15 later. So obviously readied is up and down, exhausted is turned to the side, indicating that you can't use it anymore. Units enter play exhausted and remain in play until undefeated. Units have a power and HP value. Power indicates how much they deal in combat. If a unit is ever damaged, is greater than its HP, it's defeated and puts into the discard pile. So obviously you got your card, you've got your aspect icons, the power there, the abilities of what they can do, whether it's ground or space where it'll be attacking, the name, the traits down over there, and then that HP in the blue section there. Ground and space combat is divided into two separate arenas, ground and space. Each unit is either a ground or a space unit as indicated in the top of the card. All ground units are played into the ground arena on one side of the player's base, and all space units are played into the space arena on the other side. In combat, ground units can attack space units and vice versa. There is a few cards that I have found that can attack there. Those I would highly suggest putting into your deck there because they are very resourceful. They can attack both sides there. Events have an ability in their text box. When you play an event, use its ability and put the event in your discard pile. So obviously we got the cost there, again, the aspect icon, the ability of what it does, the name of the card, the trait in that center there, and it's obviously just a full event card. Upgrades enter play attached to a unit and remain in play until that unit is defeated. Upgrades provide increased power, HP, and or abilities to the attached unit. To attach an upgrade to a unit, slide the upgrade partially underneath that unit so that the upgrade's power, HP, and abilities are visible. The unit an upgrade is attached to leaves play, defeat that upgrade, and put it in the owner's discard pile. So again, if you've ever played any of the other games here, trading card games, let's say we've got our Vader here. What we're going to do is we're going to take our upgrade card here, and if you see down here how it's got the pluses in mine, or plus, we want to slide that underneath here so we can see it at all times. That way you already know what the plus and minus is going to be and whether or not we want to make sure we remember what we've got on there. And let's continue. Attack with the unit. Attacking is the primary way to deal damage to units to the opponent's base and win the game. You can also attack enemy units. Unit must be ready in order to attack. Only one unit can attack in a single action. To attack, follow these steps in order. 1. Exhaust the attacker and choose what to attack. You may attack an enemy unit in the same arena, ground or space, as the attacker, or you may attack the opponent's base directly. If an enemy unit in the same arena as the attacker has Sentinel, it must be chosen as the defender unless the attacker has Saboteur. For more details on red keyword abilities, see page 24. Any abilities that are active while the unit is attacking, including raid, become active at this time. If the attacker has Saboteur, defeat all shields on the defender. If the attacker has Restore, heal damage from your base equal to the Restore value. If the attacker has any on-attack abilities, use them now. Deal damage if your unit is attacking a base, it deals damage equal to the power to its power to that base. A unit, the attacker and defender simultaneously deal damage equal to the power of each other. If either unit has damage on it greater than or equal to its HP, it is immediately defeated. Also love that there. So there's a few attack examples of attacking the base, throwing direct damage counters, and then attacking a unit where 3 damage gets sent over, 3 damage gets sent over. You subtract from those health pools there. Use an action ability. Some cards have action abilities. These abilities have a cost that must be paid in order to use them, found in brackets after the word action. This cost may include resources that must be paid, indicated by the gold icon, and exhausting the card, indicated by the flip icon. If you can't pay the cost, you can't use the ability. An epic action is an action ability that can only be used once per game. Take the initiative. Only one player can take this action each round. That player takes control of the initiative counter, even if they already have it, meaning they will go first in the next round. After taking the initiative, you can't take any further actions for the rest of the action phase. You are considered to pass for all remaining actions this phase. Oh, so you can take the initiative counter again double time if you stop playing everything you have before your opponent does. So and then you consider to pass. So you could essentially keep going first if you don't want to attack with all your characters. Pass. If you can't or don't want to take any other actions, you may pass. When you pass, you are considered to have done nothing during your action, and your opponent is immediately able to take their next action. You may still take more actions later in the action phase. Oh, nice. So each one has its own action. So if you pass on the rest of the action, then you can go to the next one. Wow, so this is multiple levels. Okay. After a player passes, if their opponent passes or takes the initiative as their next action, the action phase immediately ends and play proceeds to the regroup phase. Okay, so if I passed and then you pass or take the initiative in the next action, it's immediately ended. But if you take an attack, then I can defend and then take the initiative, and vice versa, or pass again and then have you pass, and then, oh, sweet. There's going to be, there's so many layers and depths into this game. This is great. Your leader is the centerpiece of your deck. It begins the game on its horizontal non-unit side and with an ability that's available from the start of the game. Your leader also has an epic action that is not available at the start of the game, but is unlocked if you have a certain number of resources in play. Once you have enough resources, you may use this action to deploy your leader. Flip it to its unit side, move it to the ground arena, and ready it. This action doesn't cost any resources and can be used regardless of whether your leader is ready or exhausted. While your leader is in play as a unit, it can attack, be attacked, and use abilities like any other unit. If your leader unit is defeated, flip it back to its non-unit side, return it to your base, and exhaust it. Your leader's epic action can be used again this game. Cover it with the epic action counter as a reminder, but you can still use its other abilities. Okay, so only one epic the entire time, and that's why you have that X there. Regroup phase. After the action phase, play proceeds to the regroup phase. You and your opponent complete each of the following steps in order. Draw cards. Draw 2 cards from your deck. Ooh, nice. That's pretty cool. 2 is a resource card. You may choose 1 card from your hand and put it into your play face down as a resource, or you may choose not to put down a resource and keep all the cards in your hand. The player with the initiative chooses whether to put down the resource first, followed by the other player. Strategy tip. We recommend players resource a card each round until they have enough resources in play to use their leader's epic action, because you don't want your opponent to have their leader out and you be sitting there with all your little Peasley units and get just murked by them. 3, ready cards. Ready all your exhausted cards in play, including units, resources, and your leader. When both players have readied all their cards, play proceeds to the action phase in the next round. So obviously that would be, if they were exhausted, you flip them back over, all that. Aspect icons, other rules. Most cards have 1 or more aspects, icons showing the aspect of which the card belongs. Each aspect represents a different philosophy or motivation. These icons tell you what the card's aspects are and may be referenced by card abilities. Aspects are important when building your own custom deck. Obviously, I covered that a little bit in one of my other videos. If you want to check that out, go ahead and check the pre-release deck box video that I did and see how I kind of picked that little out there. Just a quick deck building adventure we had there. So you got the blue vigilance, red aggression, green command, yellow cunning, the white heroism, black villainy. Token cards. Token cards are set aside and are not shuffled into your deck. Some cards may instruct you to give a token to your unit. To do so, take a set aside token from of that type and attach it to a unit in play. An experience token gives the attached unit +1/+1. A shield token prevents any amount of damage from being dealt to the attached unit, then is defeated. If a token would leave the play for any reason, set it aside. So I really like that. That's a pretty cool aspect. Traits. All cards have traits such as Rebel or Imperial, which appear in a small banner in the text box. Traits don't have their own rules, but some card abilities will affect cards with certain traits. Friendly and enemy. Cards you control are considered friendly. Cards your opponent controls are considered enemy, obviously. Unique cards. Unique cards represent specific characters or objects in the Star Wars universe and are indicated by a little star before the card's name. So we have such as here, Darth Vader. You see that little star there? That's a unique. You can only have 1 copy of each unique card in play at a time. If you ever have multiple copies of the same unique card in play under your control, you must immediately defeat one of them. So I would guess all Darth Vaders would be that way. Now, if you had a Darth Vader that did not have one of those unique symbols, I think you should be good to have that 3 max there. Unless you're doing the pre-release open, in which case you can have as many cards as you have pulled out of your pre-release box. Running out of cards in your deck. If you run out of cards in your deck, you continue playing with the cards you already have. Anytime you would draw a card from an empty deck, you instead deal 3 damage to your base for each card you would draw. For instance, when you would draw 2 cards during the regroup phase, instead deal 6 damage to your base. So you're basically just destroying yourself if you run out of cards, so avoid that. Card abilities. Several types of abilities can be found in text box on cards. Action abilities have bold text with the word action, sometimes with cost in brackets followed by a colon and an effect. Triggered abilities have bold text indicating their triggering condition with the word win or on followed by a colon and an effect. They resolve automatically after triggering the condition occurs and are mandatory unless they use the word may. The 3 conditions that appear the most often each have their own specific rules and timing. On attack, this happens after the unit is chosen as an attacker before damage is dealt. When defeated, this happens after the card is defeated. The card is in discard pile when the ability resolves. When played, this happens after the card is played. The card is in play when the ability resolves. Keyword abilities appear in red text. Each keyword has specific rules associated with it, described in detail on page 24. Constant abilities appear on cards that remain in play and have no special styling. They are active as long as the card is in play, regardless of whether the card is ready or exhausted. Event abilities appear on events. They are one-time abilities that resolve when the event is played. So custom deck building, will pop into that in one of our deck building guides here. There's our credits, Lucasfilm, blah, 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 blah. And then our keyword glossary here on the back. Ambush, after you play this unit, it may ready and attack an enemy unit. This unit doesn't ready if there are no enemy units to attack. So essentially you can't play it on the first play and then attack a base. But if your opponent already has some, then you can start it and attack that opponent's unit. Grit, this unit gets +1/+0 for each damage on it. So obviously as more damage gets on, it gets more attack. Overwhelm, when this unit deals damage to an enemy unit while attacking, deal excess damage to that opponent's base. Example, if a 5-power unit with Overwhelm attacks a unit with 3 HP remaining, it deals 2 damage to the enemy base. That's a sweet one. I would look for anything that gives Overwhelm or upgrades to Overwhelm or cards that have Overwhelm, because that is just phenomenal. If they have 4 and you do 6, you do 2 to their base, get it down to 0 there. Raid, while a unit is attacking, it gets extra power equal to the raid value. Example, a unit with raid 2 gets +2/+0 while attacking. Restore, when this unit attacks. Oh, let me go back to raid real quick. That would mean if someone else is attacking you, you do not get the +2. But if you are attacking someone else, you get +2. Restore, when this unit attacks, heal damage to your base equal to the restore value before dealing damage. Example, a unit with restore 2 heals 2 damage to your base when it attacks. I would also start looking for some restore units that have that, because obviously staying alive with your base longer means that you're going to be playing longer. Saboteur, when this unit attacks, ignore the sentinel keyword on enemy units and defeat all shield tokens on the defender before dealing damage. So basically, if they have a token on them that is the armor, you can, or shield, you can basically just negate that off and then attack. Sentinel, enemy units in the same arena, ground, or space as this unit can't attack your non-sentinel units in this arena or your base. If you have multiple units with sentinel in the same arena, your opponent may choose which of these units to attack. Place units with sentinel slightly ahead of other units in that arena as a reminder that they must be attacked. So simple enough. The sentinels draw their attention. They're basically like a tank. All their damage is going to be attacked there, and they draw the fire. Shielded, when you play this unit, give a shield token to it. If any amount of damage would be dealt to a unit with a shield token on it, prevent the damage and defeat one shield token on that unit. So that's pretty cool. Obviously, if they're a low-level unit and a big monstrous beast comes out and hits you out there, you can just negate all that damage and now it does nothing there. So thanks for joining me there. I know it was a little bit wordy there, but we wanted to cover our bases here. Please feel free to comment down there if you've got any questions or suggestions to make these videos better for you guys watching here. I hope that you are enjoying this series of starting up here as a TCG. I know some of you guys are probably like, oh, I've already known all this and that. I've played all these trading card games, but this is basically a little rehash and a little story time with me here, and it's always fun to just learn a little bit more here, and maybe you'll find something new like the extreme token there that does the extra damage to make sure that you only do that one time with your leader there, that epic action. So again, I thank you for joining me here for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave a comment down below of what you liked, what you disliked, what I can do to change it up here. I do appreciate you joining me, and I hope to see you in the next video. Please subscribe and like and tell all your friends there. We'll see you in the next one.